taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality.
You are watching my favorite channel.
I've not heard of them.
The Triple S League.
Enjoy, guys.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Augmented Reality. Microsoft reportedly planning to launch a cloud streaming device by summer of 2023. And, of course, this right on the heels of an outage over the weekend in which Xbox players were unable to play their digital games thanks to server problems on Microsoft's end that rendered all the DRM checks for your digital games uncheckable. So from May 6th to May 8th, like over the weekend, when, you know, everyone's relaxing, wanting to play their games, people were not able to play their digital Xbox games that they own, that they purchased because of, and this is actually revealed, this has revealed a thing or two about Xbox's actual DRM implementation, and people are not happy. Anyway, welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast. What a world we live in. My name is Ash.
Yes.
That voice is Saib.
Yeah, speaking of a, so we had a little bit of a late start today, which doesn't affect the when the show goes live tomorrow because we record this the night before. As you know, we of course live in Antarctica in the southern hemisphere, and for those who don't know, when the northern hemisphere enters its summer time, the southern hemisphere enters its winter time. I had a taxi cab driver explain this to me over the course of 30 minutes one day. It was a marvelous education, which I learned back in grade school, as in the first grade, which I already knew prior to that. So yes, yeah, we live in Antarctica and we had a snowfall today. Oh, I'm sorry. Slight correction there. We don't live in the southern hemisphere. We live in the northern hemisphere, and we got snow today.
May 10th.
May 10th.
Yeah.
For anybody who's wanting to know, May 10th, we got more snow. Yeah. That's just amazing.
Well,
so today's been a bit of an adventure.
No kidding. With your very, very outdoor job. By the way, there's also a Moontag, that voice you almost heard there.
Heck, hi.
Hi, how's it going? So.
Oh my god, the weather is stupid.
Yeah. But anyway, we're all nicely tucked in inside now, ready to talk about video games.
Yes.
So
very much.
Yeah, let's go. So let's talk about this Xbox thing. So, of course, we are pre-recording this. It's going to go live on May 11th on our YouTube channel and all the podcast platforms as usual. If you want to listen in on the recording session live, join our Discord and Guilded servers. And you can join the live chat there, and our audience members who listen in live. And those of you who are listening live, welcome. Let us know your thoughts in the podcast live chat. So yeah, so Xbox players, so digital games, this affected a number of things. People were unable to make purchases from the Microsoft Store. People were unable to make subscription purchases. You couldn't launch Xbox cloud gaming sessions, and you couldn't launch or play many digital games. And I would have to think that must also include games that you went and bought a quote-unquote physical copy from the store, because they don't come with stinking... So many of those just come with download codes now.
Yeah.
So even if you went and bought it from a brick-and-mortar store, your game's not working. And if you... now, Bellular was saying that this might have even impacted people who had disc versions of the game, because, if things weren't fully installed, then it wouldn't work. Now, I'm not 100% sure about that, but basically, it broke. And it broke very badly, and people are pointing the finger at DRM check-ins. DRM check-ins, which, so your Xbox console has to, even if you're, playing a game that is single player and you don't have to, it's not a multiplayer game that requires an internet connection, it has to check in with the server and verify that you have a legal copy of the game, and that that your legal copy somehow didn't become a pirated copy since an hour ago when it checked. This is This is, it's ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous, and it's also like it's horrible timing that happened over a weekend. First of all, but that's even secondary. I mean, this has got people talking about just all of the problems with digital game ownership, and how the games that they purchased, paid for, don't need to be online. Single player game. They couldn't play them because this whole system is broken.
Yeah. Now, this, from what I understand, this was so the primary way of checking stuff and assuring account authenticity at Microsoft. Apparently, this was, or is, I should say, or was not, I guess, was not the primary way of, so their primary network went down, and apparently that activated some secondary security measures. That was what the original was the Xbox 360 had, when it was supposed to have daily check-ins.
Yeah.
And if it couldn't get enough daily check-ins, it would just brick itself. Because the idiot running Microsoft at the time, who was not the guy who's running it now, thought that was a brilliant idea. Because, everybody in the world has 24 access to the internet, and, and really likes having their DRM checked constantly to ensure that they're not only are they a subscriber, that they paid for the product. It doesn't matter how many times they've got to check to make sure that you paid for that product, but you're also giving them your geolocation, a bunch of other stuff.
So you're telling me that this old system is still it's still in there as legacy?
Well, so as far as I understand, yeah, it's not that it was legacy tech in the sense that they were using it pre-hand. It's that they had to create a workaround for that technology to move themselves away from that when everything went south for them so quickly, and they started losing everything, and they were mocked, almost nonstop. So it's not that it was technology that was ever supposed to be, that thing was not supposed to be there. Essentially, was never really meant to be there, but because they paved the road, they built the bridge, and then they realized that the bridge was made out of matchsticks. They had to kind of build around it without necessarily being able to remove the old stuff. And so,
that's messed up.
It's so the bridge, the new bridge kind of phased out for a second, and this matchstick bridge appeared and started crashing everything and causing a bunch of issues. They rectified it within, for the most part, as in for the vast majority. It was fixed within excuse me, and the new stuff, and any problems since then are just kind of holdover problems and issues that
sure,
that are still popping up there.
Right, but that's the thing. It caused, even after they fixed the issues, quote unquote, there were still a lot of people having problems and having to perform multiple restarts on their consoles, or even factory reset their consoles in order to fix the problems that were happening, which just shows how deeply ingrained all of this is. And when it breaks, it breaks everything. And I think that,
yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't, so a lot of people are making a big fuss about this. I have to remind everybody that Microsoft's missed a grand total of, I guess you can now say, a day in the last couple of years of service uppage. You got to remember that PlayStation has lost, I mean, they're on their third or fourth week now of major access issues over the last few years.
I was going to say, haven't we run into this DRM issue before?
Yeah.
Recently? So
now, it wasn't a DRM issue for most of Sony's issues that they've had over the last few years. has in a lot of cases actually has come down to payment service issues, shutting out basically everybody, and then also just actual like the actual uptime of their servers and their network has crashed and or has been attacked multiple times, leading to prolonged outages in the past. So I would say that what this goes to show is that, you know, developers and platform creators need to be really careful about the stuff that they put on into their system at every single point along the way, and that the
Idiocy.
idiocracy. No, I'm quoting the movie. The
Oh.
idiocracy of this initial choice. If you've ever seen the movie Idiocracy, you will recognize that take any dumb problem from that movie and just compound it. That was what the original idea for this was. This is how stupid these initial decisions on this DRM stuff from Microsoft originally. This is a ghost in their. This isn't a skeleton in their closet, so to speak. This is a ghost in their closet, so to speak, because the skeleton, you know, that's like they lived with it for a long time, then they had to kill it, then they had to bury it. They killed this thing before it necessarily became the mainstay, and they pulled back on a lot of these decisions just before they launched the previous generation. And by doing so, like they still shot themselves in the stomach. But the ghost, it wasn't a skeleton, it was just a ghost. So yeah, you can still mock them for this. This is still something that you can laugh at and go, wow, you guys were really stupid.
Well,
I mean, not just a little stupid, you guys were just like immensely stupid. Like just like this original idea that you had was so dumb that that years later, just this thing coming on for a brief like few hour period was enough to drive most people to, like, you know, shudder and cry.
We got some great comments in the chat too. Shua says, "It's not an outage, it's a feature. It was a Microsoft sponsored get outside and get some sunlight. You lazy bastard."
right,
eh?
yeah.
And Trauma says, but DRM is good. The industry leaders said so themselves. And Shua responds, "Don't you guys have DRM?"
Yeah. So yeah, definitely something to for them to be mocked for, because again, you got to remember that this wasn't supposed to turn on. This was not something that was you know, intentional. Obviously, this was not intentional. Just like when PlayStation goes down, it's not intentional on their parts necessarily. But this goes to show us the probably the frequent issues that would have happened if this stuff hadn't been changed. So this is a reminder that no platform, no major company, no big mega corporation is your friend. They will all turn on you if it feeds their bottom line. And at some point, this stupidity was going to become commonplace.
Well,
and it would have completely destroyed it would have completely destroyed the platform and changed the face of gaming as we know it today. If that had allowed to happen, I don't think they would have sold any of their Scorpion models. I think that basically everybody would have just turned on them. It would be interesting to see what would have happened to the market. You know, would we have a new console by now? Would we have a new console, you know, company?
like a
Would
replacement, like,
you know,
something.
would somebody have jumped in on the bones of Microsoft? Because yeah, the only reason why Microsoft didn't cancel the Xbox Wing, didn't remove them or cut them free from the company, was because they, you know, Phil came in and managed to convince them not to. Phil never came in because, you know, what's his dumb face was still in there. He would have piloted that thing into the side of a mountain at Mach 3. And he would have, the whole way along, he would have been like, I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. I've got it. I flew with this old World War II pilot during the London Blitz. And same kind of person. I'm like, dude, pull up. And he's like, no, I've got it. And I'm like, dude, pull up. And I'm getting my parachute ready. And he's like, dude, I got it. And I'm like, dude, pull up. He's like, I've got it. And I'm like, okay, I'm gone. Goodbye. And I jump off, and he just and I swear, like the last minute just before he hit the building was like, I've got it. It's like that's the level of stupidity of like, what are you doing? What are you doing? That's the idiot who was running Microsoft. So again, this is a great reminder. These people are idiots. The vast majority of them are idiots. They will always remain complete and total idiots. Don't ever trust them all the way. You trust them enough as far as you can throw them, essentially. It's like, okay, Phil's holding his hand out, and he's got a really good grasp of everything. He's got a safety belt kind of, tucked in, and he's like, I've got you. Give me your hand. And you're like, and you just take a couple minutes and you just look over everything again before you give him your hand, right? You just like, okay, I see he's got the right stuff on. All right, Phil, can you tug on that safety chain? Are you sure it's secure? Yes, it looks secure. Okay, and you're really holding on to that pipe, like really good. Yeah, I'm holding on to it. I've got a good hold. Okay, I'm gonna give you my hand, and then I want you to, let me pull on you just a little bit to make sure that you're not going to fly off and take me with you down the cliff. Okay. All right. I think I could put a little bit more weight in you, and then I'm never going to let go of the other safety line. I'm going to keep one hand on you and one hand on the safety line. My references are all over the place tonight, but still.
I was going to say, I feel like this metaphor has outlived its usefulness, but your point is well taken that, I mean, yes, don't trust these corporations.
Yeah.
I mean, I think track record is a big deal. I mean, as far as, what, if you have any hope that they're going to do something good for the future, well, what have they done? I think looking at track record is fair, but never make the mistake of thinking that a company
knows what it's doing. And trust
me.
Or
that it's always going to be there for you in the long term, or, like look at CD Projekt Red. They had so much goodwill stored up. All of it's gone.
Yeah. I mean, they're gonna have to try real hard with their next launch, and I think that's probably like 4 years away.
But
don't worry, Shua. I have an epic rant coming up on the next Dragon Age game here as soon as we jump into the BioWare news.
Well, just quickly before that, so they are planning this cloud streaming device, which is apparently going to be, a device like, it says here, it's like a Roku or an Amazon Fire Stick, something you can literally plug into your TV and then play games on your TV, stream Xbox games to your TV. Xbox Game Pass games anyway. So that's interesting. That's interesting. Now, a device like that, okay, you recognize you're buying something that has to be always online. But this, I think, the decisions and the policies that are being made now, they're really going to change things down the road. I mean, you look at, like, right now, if you have an original Xbox and a copy of the original Halo, you can just plug it in and play it. And that was, 20 years ago that came out? So 20 years from now, you want to plug in your Xbox Series X and play a game, even if you have the disc, there's a very good chance it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
Which is a sad state of affairs when it's like there's no difference. You paid for the original Halo, you're paying the same or more for a game now. And why do we put up with this? Why do we put up? That's my question. Why do we put up with this?
This is the danger of, the moving to this always online state. This is why, if you're wondering, like, how can advanced civilizations crash? The answer to that is very easy. All you have to do is imagine, like, we're almost there already, where your cell phone does everything. Your cell phone calls, your Uber, your cell phone calls, those little stupid riding scooters. Your phone calls your food. It orders your food. It allows you to get access to medical care, all that kind of stuff. Imagine that, like, 20 years from now, when it's even more so. And then all you have to do to imagine a crash is just makes those cell phones, or whatever equivalent is in 20 years, just turn them off. Like some kind of a weird patch bug,
Yeah.
or some kind of a global like power outage, or electromagnetic,
or a network outage. Even if the device works fine, if there's no network, it's useless. It's useless.
And everything just turns into a paperweight, and they can't even create new models fast enough to get them out into the hands of like people who need them, in order for society to continue running for the next 3 days. And if you can't do that, then you're screwed. Which is why a little bit of like semi politics here. It's why you never ever give away like all of your ability in like localized areas to do stuff.
That
right?
was a
Like,
very vague statement, but you probably shouldn't expand on it.
Yeah. So anyways,
let's okay, well, let's move on here. But I think like this goes beyond gaming. It's an important thing that we all need to be thinking about. Like how much control of our lives and our society are we giving over to being dependent on always being online? And that's not a good thing. You're listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast, critical gaming news, and where we go deep into the topics wherever we can. Please do slam that like button if you are listening, live or after the fact. Or if you're listening on one of the audio platforms, you can, whatever the version of subscribing and liking is on the platform you're listening on, we'd appreciate that as well. Also, find the link in the description to find the YouTube channel, and where we post the video version of this, where we put the news articles up on the screen and images and things like that. And you can also check out our other channel, the main Triple S League channel, where we do game guides, reviews, comedy, and all kinds of other stuff. Plus, we've got new ideas. We've always got new ideas around here. We've got some exciting stuff coming this year, but I will leave it there for the moment. Oh, and of course, join the Discord and Gilded servers. Gilded, the free speech, the freer speech Triple S League community server is there.
Yeah, we still have rules on that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
we don't allow you to post whatever you want.
But you can post. You can actually post memes there without risk of our entire server being shut down, which is not the case on Discord because they changed their terms of service. Now, we're still doing a lot on Discord, but we are gradually trying to transition away. So yeah, if you're on Discord and you haven't joined Gilded yet, I recommend doing it because, eventually we are going to be shifting ever so slowly, but inevitably away from Discord as our main platform of operations because we believe in free speech here. All right. Let's see. Oh, yeah, let's talk about this next. We'll talk about EA just briefly, and that'll transition into the BioWare's stuff very nicely. Oh, yeah, Shua, it's an actual gaming device. It's not just like a like watching Twitch or something. So I'm sure there will be some kind of controller with it, or yeah, like you said, that can Bluetooth connect to it. All right, so EA is no longer going to be making FIFA games, or at least FIFA branded games. They're going to be continuing their soccer video game series, or football, as so it was I think Funky on the server there was like, only Americans call it soccer. Well, actually we call it soccer here in Canada too, but football for those of you in Europe and Australia and where else do they call it football? I'm guessing
everywhere.
Everywhere except North America.
Everywhere except North America.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
And yet, this like, I will be the first to admit that makes no sense, and then we use the word football to describe another sport altogether.
Well, the dumb thing about football, American football, is that the only time a foot actually interacts with the ball is at kickoff.
Yeah, that's
All of the other times, except for goal shots, which isn't even the primary form of point generating, is the ball is in your hands. So football should actually be called handball, or like hold ball to chest and
hug ball.
run into people ball.
Carry ball.
Play some
hug
carry ball. Yeah.
Hug ball.
Hug
Carry ball. Carry ball. Hug ball. Oh, Australia calls it soccer too. Okay, well, yeah. I mean, they're always upside down there, so it's fine.
Good to know. Good to know.
But yeah, no, football, like soccer. Like,
yeah. So we're not.
Football. That makes a lot more sense.
It does make a lot more sense. Anyway, so EA and FIFA, like the actual FIFA organization, failed to reach an agreement to continue letting EA produce FIFA games. Now, a lot of this had to do with the apparently FIFA wanted to double the fee that EA paid to use, or to the licensing fee. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which was $150 million a year, according to Forbes here. So I guess they wanted to double that to $300 million, which is insane. That's like every 3 to 4 years is like they're paying $1 billion for that license. Good night.
Well, I mean, this is the chickens coming home to roost. This is poetic justice. This is everything. Before they could make those, sales, they could do that. And everybody was happy. Everybody was making cash. Then EA got greedy. Then they introduced microtransactions. Then they started running the games on microtransactions. Then they started advertising those microtransactions where they gave away, was it $2 or $5 million to streamers? I think it was $2 million. They gave away like $2 million to a whole bunch of streamers over a weekend and said, pull as much as you can. We're gonna give you like this. We're gonna give you 20 grand. We're gonna give you 50 grand. Yeah, you just pull as many of these packs as you want, and you just watch how many people get the top 3 characters in the entire game. Oh, it's gonna be great. And $2 million on dozens and dozens and dozens of streams earned a grand total of 0 of the top 3 characters across all of those accounts. That's how rare it is. You could spend $2 million in those stupid ranking games, and you still wouldn't get one of the top 3 characters. Congratulations, EA. You played yourself like fools. And now this big entity is looking at you going, you made how much money off of our franchise last year by making kids take money from their parents' credit cards? Excuse me, we're just going to double your fee. And now they can't afford it. And now they're getting closer and closer to the P word. Not that P word, the peeing P word, that one, except the more crass version of it. That company is so blanked off. They're so pissed that whole time I'm trying not to say pissed. They were so pissed.
It's okay.
They're pissing off this corporation, and they're pissing off governments, and they're pissing off parents, and everybody's getting pissed off.
And now we can't get them to stop saying
pissed on. And they're so angry, and now suddenly it's like EA's like, oh dear, we've lost the account, and it's the beginning of the end for EA. It is the beginning of the end. Mark my words, friends. This is the beginning of the end for EA. EA is a garbage company that is about to crash and burn over the next few years, probably less. And I suspect in a few years, we won't be hearing much about them anymore because they'll be a shell of an old company. And it's not just this, which is really funny, and it's just desserts, and it's disgusting that these people are so gross that they targeted kids. They know they targeted kids with these greedy microtransactions. Egregious. Again, I'm not talking about like, oh, you got to spend like $3 grand or $5 grand in Lost Ark or in Genshin Impact. Those are still bad. Those are still really bad. But I dropped $80 on Genshin Impact, and I got like the top 3 characters at the time, and that's what I spent on a normal game, on a AAA game, and I got that, and then I was like, I don't really play anymore. But they gave hundreds of streamers, I think it was just under 100 streamers, $2 million to blow, and not one of them got the top 3 characters in the entire fucking thing. That's how evil these people are. That's how money grubbing they are. That's how much they want to take from you and turn your kids into addicts for their products, because it's just better that way for them, not for anybody else. Not for anybody else.
Well, it also seems
they've never improved any genre of game. You look at Mass Effect, and it's gone downhill since the second game. You look at any other game that they've been working on, and it's consistently dropped in quality, depth, everything. You get less and less and less of what you get. You used to get dozens and dozens and dozens of maps on these FPS games. You used to get 40 hours of story. Now you get an hour and a half of story and the same 2 maps to play for the next 5 years that they shove the crap down your throat. EA is done, and I can't wait for them to burn. Oh.
Figuratively, but yes. Just to clarify, just to clarify.
And again, I'm leading up to this Dragon Age 4 news that we have.
Sure. Okay. We'll hop. I mean, that was quite a rant. I have nothing to add to that. I don't know about you, Moon, but I mean, yeah, absolutely. I was going to say a little more about this, but you know what? I think you nailed it. I will point out, though, that this is the second major license that they've lost recently that I can remember. Of course, they lost the exclusive Star Wars license. So now we got Star Wars games being made by other companies. We'll see who does it better. My bet is, Respawn did pretty good. Respawn did pretty good, but that's because they kind of went against EA in some ways.
They went exactly 180 degrees against EA, and they used their own marketing stuff to basically bait them into making this thing and making this appeal. And anyways, yeah, it was great fun. There's a handful of companies that studios that might survive an EA crash. A handful. There's it's very possible that things like Respawn will be sold off to or they might sell off everything and just keep Respawn. That's entirely possible too.
Well,
but yeah, they're going to start selling off or closing studios at a rapid rate once nobody starts buying their garbage anymore. Or maybe they'll just double down, make these microtransaction games, and for some stupid reason, tens of thousands of kids and players and gamers will continue to dump money into a product that is arguably garbage.
You bumping your microphone over there? Lots of thumping happening.
My thing? Yeah. No. I don't think I was.
You just did it again.
That time I actually did move it. So,
all right. So Dragon Age 4. So BioWare says Dragon Age 4 is in the middle of production. So okay, what do you have got to say about this?
The immediate question is, middle of production. You realize that Dragon Age 4 has been in development since 2015, right?
Well, it got rebooted a couple times, but
yeah. It got started in 2015. So do you mean it's in the middle of production as to that? Which I don't think they mean, but let's go through it. So in 2015, they started what was Joplin, and it was very cool. It was more narrative focused. It was intended to be smaller and more focused on the actual lore and game stuff and world settings. It was going to be the Tevinter Imperium region. You were going to have a lot of interaction that was non-combat focused, and that was a choice. So you could choose to do combat in every mission if you so choose. You could also choose to go in with a bunch of courtiers and prostitutes and basically do the whole thing via cloak and dagger. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But you know what? EA just didn't like that. They just didn't like that. There was no room for live services. There was no room for loot boxes.
Well, and this was what? This was 2015, so it was like...
This was 2015.
Where's the Battle Royale? Actually, that came a little after, but...
Yeah. There was none of the stuff that they wanted and demanded in the game. Where was their microtransactions? Where was any of this stuff? These head developers got pulled into a meeting with EA where they got basically bitch slapped and screamed at and degraded in front of these stupid executives at EA who know nothing about making games. And they said, and this was October 2018, and they said, cancel this, go back to the drawing, throw all this stuff out. How dare you make a game that we can't target at children and then repeatedly turn them into pay piggies. I'm trying to avoid like hardcore swearing here because this gets me so bloody angry. In response to this, several of the core people left the company, including Mark Laidlaw, Matthew, a bunch of other people that I can't talk about. Matthew Goldham and Mark Dara stayed on, basically took over the project, and continued to work towards the new game that they wanted. This time calling this one Morrison. So now we're caught up to 2018. The live services were getting worse. Some of the stuff that got kind of semi-leaked out to people was atrocious, including a state in the game where you had to pull cards like you do in that stupid soccer game that EA makes. And you had about the same equivalencies as far as like pulling random cards. Here's the catch, though. Every time any of your characters went on a mission, whether you played it directly or sent them out automatically, they died and went away permanently. In order to play the game, you had to shell out $5 to $10 per play period per session.
Wait, what?
Yeah, this isn't in the news. This is
Dragon Age Morrison?
This was Morrison, allegedly.
If anyone's wondering what these terms mean, like Morrison is the code name for Dragon Age
project.
after it got rebooted, and then the first one you said was what was that again? Joplin. So Joplin was the initial one. So they give these projects code names, right? So they can talk about. So okay. So then what happened with Morrison? So I mean that's disturbing. That's
Morrison,
very disturbing.
that was disturbing. This stuff got semi-leaked. It was really bad. That's about when the whole studio that you just mentioned that did the Star Wars thing, that's when they had their success, and that's when they started to see a lot of these countries start to outlaw loot boxes, started to ban stuff, and things started to pick up speed, and they realized that, we're in big trouble here. Potentially, if all of our games come out are being planned this way, and then they drop and they're all banned in basically every country, we're screwed. And this is when also pressure started to rise. Like pressure really started to rise in 2019 and 2020, as far as like what's allowed in China. And there's just there's a majority of games that are going to be released this year are not going to be allowed in China, period. So that wonderful Chinese market that these idiots at these companies have been building up to for decades. Well, now that's gone. It's gone. It's kapoots.
Yep. I mean, who could have seen that coming? Who could have seen?
Yeah.
Let's bow to the demands of the most restrictive government on the planet. Well, okay, that's maybe I can't say that with any certainty, but as far as like huge gaming markets go, you got China with its extremely restrictive and censorious government, and they were trying to play nice, and it bit them in the ass. Who'd have seen that coming?
Yeah. So that's when they pulled back, and in December 2020, Dara resigned from the studio.
Yep. Mark Dara.
He was replaced by Christian Daly. And they started to lose additional people over the next couple of months and years. They've left Goldman. He's gone now. They've left a couple of other people. And the people that they've gotten to replace these people are not experienced with releasing major projects. Most of them are barely experienced in running a team. And most of them are far more interested in other things other than their primary job. You know, they don't spend the majority of their time on Twitter talking about game development and asking hard-hitting questions like Mark Dara has been recently. Same with a number of other people have been ex BioWare people have been getting on Twitter and have been actively asking questions like, what's important to you in a video game? Imagine that. Imagine a head of a studio getting on social media and asking people what their opinions are about important features within video games. Imagine that.
The
What a
concept
concept.
just seems so foreign for some
It's
reason.
such a foreign, weird, dirty concept of it. You're offering you want people to give you their opinion on how to make games and what they like about games. It's also kind of disturbing when you think about it. It's a little disturbing that there are some people who are making games, who are heads of studios, who have no idea what people actually like about video games. That's a little bit more disturbing. So yeah, now they've at this point, EA told BioWare that they didn't have to do any of this microtransaction stuff, and that they could basically reset the board, and that was
So it got rebooted again, basically.
So yeah, it got rebooted again, basically. So now we're about 2 years into that. Yeah, where are we in this 50% mark? Where are we? Are we 7 years into the 50% mark, meaning that we've got another 7 years before the release, or do we have another 2 years into it before we get Dragon Age 4?
Knowing EA, it's probably
2 years,
6 months, and the game doesn't actually exist yet.
So we're talking about 2024 for a potential Dragon Age 4 release, which I guess now the number at least, matches up. Now it's Dragon Age and Dragon Age 4 in 2024.
April 4th.
If you add the two twos together, you get 4, and then you get another 4, and you could release it on April the 4th. It's gonna be great, guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
or December 4th, and you could be like D4 on D4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also hate to say this now, but that means that the next Mass Effect is at least an additional 2 years away from that, if not 4. And if they haven't done anything stupid and need to reboot the whole process, putting the next Mass Effect game coming out in another 4 to 8 years. What are these people thinking?
Well, I mean,
so, yeah,
my question would be, what else can they do?
Apparently they're suggesting that they're making these games at the same time, which I highly disbelieve. They couldn't do it with Andromeda and Anthem. Why on earth would anybody think they're even remotely capable of doing that with this project?
Well, definitely not for the same release window or anything, but apparently I don't remember if that's in an article I have up right now or if I just heard it in a video earlier or when I was researching, but apparently, so I mean, they're saying Dragon Age 4 is in mid development, and this, by the way, this is from back in February, I believe.
Yeah, it's
so it's a little bit old, but apparently the new Mass Effect is in early development. So that does imply it's a long ways away. It'll be
at least
after
again,
the I agree with you on those timelines.
It's 4 to 8 years away.
Ish, 8 years. Well, I mean,
can you imagine getting a new Mass Effect game in 2030? Like, ugh, it makes me sick. It makes me physically ill.
Well, there's no question that all of this has been mismanaged, and really, and I mean, I hope
But
they.
don't worry, guys. Don't worry. We have some golden light on the horizon here for this, ladies and gentlemen. Um, the quality assurance studio that brought you Anthem, that brought you Andromeda, has indeed is in the process of, not yet, is in the process of unionizing into permanent employees. So great that the quality assurance team on those two games are becoming the central pillar to guaranteeing good games in the future. Now, I'm actually a fan of most unionization attempts in general. It depends a lot on what union is backing them, how the process actually goes through, how much money this new agency or group will be pulling from the actual employees, how much insanity rules they have in. And again, I've seen some unions say things like uh, you know employee one has to stay with the customer for exactly 50 5 or 10 minutes, and then the next employee has to come in and continue that service for another 5 to 10 minutes. And it is one of the most disjointed, insane things I have ever witnessed. And specifically here, obviously I'm talking about customer service related stuff. I've also seen it work in professional, hard labor, trade labor, and professional labor. And I have to say that again, a union really, really, really is at the mercy of who's running it, as far as like whether or not it's helpful or not. There are some unions that I have seen, again, personally have witnessed. They encouraged people in one city to go on strike, knowing full well that when they went on strike, um, that the machines that were being in use would kind of hit this like wall and would stop working, and then would kind of start to fall apart, and then somebody happened to burn it down, and oh look, there goes the factory, and all those jobs got put out. Turns out that the union boss lived in another city, and that's where the new factory went up. And the union boss had all of his friends and family get cushy jobs over there. So again, I don't want to call unions good or bad, because just like people, they're good or bad depending on who's running it. Do I think that quality assurance teams in gaming have been viciously underpaid for a very long time? Yes. They have been paid, and we've harped on this for Blizzard. In most cases, they're paid as close to, if not as low, or even sometimes lower, when they can like maneuver it so that they're paid below the poverty line or below the minimum wage line. I know that quality assurance in EA has for a long time been, hey, we're going to pay you 8 hours to show up here, but you're going to be it's going to be mandatory for you to volunteer an extra 4 hours a day. And you're like, do I get paid for this? No. Do you supply me with food? No. Do you supply me with a way home? No. Okay, then why would I do this? Well, if you don't do this, I'm afraid that, those 3 infractions that you received last week for hitting on the boss's daughters, well, that's just going to end you up in getting a pink slip. Wait, what? What infractions? Oh, those infractions. You already signed it. See, here's your signatures. Wait, what? I didn't sign that. Of course, it's right here. Oh, excuse me, this is unacceptable. I'm going to go talk to a lawyer. Oh, okay, but we have you on videotape, hitting somebody. It's like, stuff like that. Again, I've seen this stuff more than once. And these companies are dirty, filthy, disgusting. You think that a company that's willing to actively get kids addicted to gambling and stealing money to fuel that gambling, you think they give a crap about their baseline employees and that they wouldn't be willing to, do very unlawful, illegal things? I have a bridge to sell you if you believe that's true. It's in the middle of the Yukon. Goes over a valley.
Is it made of matchsticks?
And it might be made of matchsticks.
You see what I did there? Referring back to
Exactly.
On the topic of Mass Effect, however, just shifting gears slightly, but still sort of...
Yes, the game that I want to be clear on released over a decade ago.
Mass Effect 3, yeah.
Mass Effect 3 released on March 6th, 2012. Right after that whole
Holy crap, that is the end of the world. Yeah, it happened right at the end of the world there.
There was. The
whole 2012 thing. It did happen. It's just happening really slowly, right? That's
Well, the battle with Cthulhu. Not many people heard about that, but yeah, that was a thing. And then there was some other stuff, but yeah. So the game that released a decade ago, the waste of development and time and it makes me so sad. It literally makes me sick to realize how much time and effort and potential stuff we could have had in the Mass Effect universe. The amount of good potential writing, the amount of good everything was just not, it wasn't just thrown away. It was pissed away in some of in some of the most horrendous stuff ever.
It is very sad. It's a top-notch IP. I love the Mass Effect world. And
we have recaptured the puppy, by the way.
Oh, good. Okay, that's something.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's something we were talking about in a break
Yes,
just a second ago. For those of you who are listening, so I guess
But for those of you who are listening live, because there are people who come and listen live, and we love you guys for listening live. It's great. It's great to have the interaction. It's great to have the feedback.
Yeah.
And yes, we would prefer to do these live, but we can't actually do them live for the moment. So yeah. Anyway, so so Mass Effect 3 had an ending, and I would like to give a spoiler alert for those.
Spoiler warning if you haven't played.
If you
Mass
haven't
Effect
played
3.
a 10-year-old game. So today a thing went up on the store that allowed you to that gave some flavor text that said that
So this was, well, I've got the quotes right here. So this is on this lithograph that you can buy is an image that was released. I believe it was on N7 Day a few months ago. Now they're selling it on, as a thing. And
but this time it came with this with a written description.
Yes.
Right?
So on the store page, now it has this description. Now it's changed a couple of times throughout is it just today or is it the past couple of days?
Like today, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So the description first read, "The show goes on. Shepard's final quest may have ended the threat of the Reapers, but at great cost, including Earth itself. While Shepard and the survivors are left to pick up the pieces, fans are left wondering what's next." That was the original description that accompanied this thing here. Which, sorry, those of you listening live can't see what I'm showing, but I should have gotten an image for you. But anyway, it was updated to say the show goes on. The threat of the Reapers might have been ended. So it basically removed any mention of Commander Shepard. Mm-hmm. It no longer said, while Shepard and the survivors. It just said while the survivors are left to pick up the pieces. And then it got changed again. It currently reads, "Mass Effect will continue." And with the sneak peek poster we got from the BioWare team as part of N7 Day 2021, there's a lot to unpack. So they removed that whole paragraph that
Because they gave so much away,
Yeah.
you idiots.
So, go figure.
You
Now,
absolute idiots. Now, this isn't as huge.
here's a
news.
question. Here's a question I have though. Did they give it away, or was it a mistake? Like, was it? Were they told to remove it because that's not actually what it's supposed to be? Like, there's a lot of speculation that this is revealing that Commander Shepard's going to be back in the next Mass Effect game, which could be. That is a distinct possibility. And then they removed it because they didn't want to, give that away. Or was it a mistake that whoever wrote this copy on the store page, which I'm highlighting right here, whoever wrote it made a mistake mentioning Commander Shepard when they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
And that he's not actually, she, it could be either, is not actually part of the game. Which is it? I don't know. What do you guys think?
So, now I'll say okay. I feel like I should say this because why not? It's going to be 4 to 8 years before the next Mass Effect game comes out. It's going to be 4 to 8 years before we hear or see much of the plot. And there's enough information that was set up in some of the earlier stuff and the trailer that they put out, and some other stuff that indicate heavily that Shepard's still alive in some way, shape, or form. So I figure I might as well talk about what I know through, let's call it deductive reasoning. Yes,
Sure, let's call it that. Sure, yeah, okay.
Let us use deductive reasoning. For those of you who can't hear, I'm winking heavily at you right now. Deductive reasoning states that in sci-fi, just as in when there's magic, no character is ever truly dead. You can bring back a character whenever you want. I did notice they were on an ice planet, and considering that the previous version of Shepard came back from being dropped onto a planet's surface after having been exposed to exposed to no atmosphere, to the void of space, and still managed to crawl their way back, to healthy living. Spoiler alert for what is that one? A 13-year-old game. Spoilers. Having him or her frozen in ice, and then they discovering him or her on a frozen ice planet and then reviving them, not that hard in the slightest. Not even remotely that hard.
Especially with we have alien technology, yada yada.
Exactly, right? Literally not that hard. Also not that hard to have the character shift to a new line of Shepards, including old Shepard still being around somewhere and giving advice. When I was a kid, I kicked those Geth teeth in. It was a really easy battle. And that's how you interact with stuff. All of these are probably, if not very conveniently alluded to as possibilities directly in all of the content that they've put out to leak, or not to leak, to hype up the next Mass Effect, which again, I remind you, is coming in 4 to 8 years and is nowhere near, even a beta stage, let alone an alpha stage, let alone a beta stage. This is not likely to happen.
What's not likely to happen?
Well, that it. Oh yeah, I did phrase that wrong, didn't I? So I mean, all those things can happen. Sorry, all those things can happen. Anything can happen.
Anything could happen. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Wouldn't surprise me at all if they brought Shepard back.
And I suspect strongly that it depends, and I suspect strongly that they don't have anybody writing the story who's remotely competent in writing the story, and it's probably just writing it as they go along, and the writing is probably not going to be very good because all of the people who wrote the original story are all gone, and all of them have the same thing to say about Blizzard and the people who replaced them as, you know, and that is that whoever's running the ship now is an idiot. You know, if you don't believe me, go talk to Mark Laidlaw and Chris Avalon.
Yeah, I'll just call him up.
A bunch of other people. Yeah, you know, don't believe the person who's, you know, being followed by them. You know, just believe them. You know, just look it up on your own. I'm sure you'll find the same thing. So yeah, no, the story of Mass Effect and whether or not Shepard's alive. Again, some people are like, "Oh my God, guys, Shepard's alive!" It's like, no shit.
Well,
I mean, like, really? Like, you think this is a hard thing for them to pull off in sci-fi? They already died in the second game and came back from an orbital drop. I mean, seriously.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I mean,
and
seriously. So yeah,
I have a hard time getting excited about any of this because, like you said, it's a long way away. They butchered Andromeda, and I'm just anti-hype in general now, thanks to recent events in gaming over the past few years. So,
and some people are asking, "Oh my God, how would they do that?" Oh, I don't know. They've also been alluding to the fact that Andromeda is going to be, you know, tied into the story, and it's going to bravely, you know, connect the two beloved franchise arcs. Beloved franchise arcs. Oh Lord! But at any rate, do you remember the basic premise behind Andromeda, that garbage game? You remember the general premise behind that?
The general premise?
Yeah. They could clone people from single cells.
Right. Yes.
So gee, guys, again, using deductive reasoning, I'm winking really heavily. What do you think the story is going to be about? Like it's right there. It's literally right there. So yeah, and I'm sure if you had contacts and friends, I'm sure the number one question that EA is asking BioWare, like, "Hey, you're working on a new Mass Effect thing, right? We're kind of needing some more money now. Is there any way you could bring back Commander Shepard? And you know, he's really popular with the kids these days, especially because we released that, you know, that whole Legendary Edition, whatever you want to call it, like Legacy. No, it was Legendary Edition." So we released that Legendary Edition, and he's really popular. You know, he, she, whatever. Like, people can make their own. And hey, you're on that, right? You're on that, right? Right? So yeah, some people were freaking out today. Some people got on their YouTube channels and were like, "Oh my goodness, guys, guess what? Oh my God, you can't believe this. This is gonna be great. Commander Shepard's back." It's like, where have you been for the last 3 years? Really? You really? Wow. Oh my goodness. Oh, but they might have more characters from the original series. Oh, you mean more of our beloved characters from Mass Effect are coming back in a sci-fi universe where most of them live for hundreds of years at a time? You don't say. Oh, that's so interesting. Oh my God.
All right then. As far as secrets are concerned, though, or secret reveals or whatever, BioWare has said that this image that was released on N7 Day contains at least 5 clues about what's to come in the Mass Effect universe. There's not much there, so, I mean, I guess take that as you will, as far as what that means. I mean, maybe we've covered them all already. I don't know. Maybe one of the clues is that it's going to be called Mass Effect. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I don't know. I don't know what you're supposed to gain from this picture.
There's one ship. There's 3 figures on the ground. One of them's a Krogan. One of them's Liara.
3?
One of them is.
I see 4 little specks there. Well, one might be a shadow or something. I don't know.
I guarantee you another one's going to have a name that rhymes with leopard. So, yeah, congratulations.
Or maybe they're going in there to get leopard.
Yeah.
Because they're walking toward that crater thing. And
All I got to say is the people that are behind Bethesda, BioWare, that are supposed to be doing their hype up stuff, you guys aren't good at your job. I mean, you're really not good at your job. I know at least a dozen people who could do a better job of this in their sleep.
well, there are also there's just a lot of I think there's a lot of apathy in general. Even though I love the Mass Effect universe, and I would love a new Mass Effect game, but I want one that is good.
You want?
Right.
Hey, here's some free advice for you, Activision. Here's some free advice for you. Start having a weekly art-a-thon or art submission process in which people submit art via their various social medias, and you highlight them and show them off. Start a history of the Mass Effect universe audio series, or probably an audio series of some kind, with some of that fantastic art that you're now making friends and connections with. Probably put out some cryptic journal entries from survivors and other things that are starting to lay the groundwork of getting people interested in the world again. Start I don't know, put out some modding tools, like not just like cheap modding tools, like work on some really advanced modding tools for the legendary edition. Put that out ASAP, like ASAP, like literally yesterday. Like get it done immediately.
That
That will start to increase the amount of
I was gonna say I think that would be, well, all of those are good suggestions. I just wonder if it's possible for the gaming community at large to get excited about another Mass Effect from EA or from BioWare in the state that BioWare is in after 2 massive disappointments.
Probably not. You're probably right. Like the writing is probably going to be hot garbage. And I'll tell you why, is because there's a thirst for good sci-fi, and you're getting it in the form of some shows, some products. You've got an amazing number of good sci-fi shows out right now, and you've got an enormous amount of bad garbage sci-fi shows out right now as well. I watched that new Star Trek episode. I was like, oh my god, how stupid do you think like people are? Like, god, they said they were going to do good. They said that they were going to like go back to the basics. They said that they were going to showcase some really great stuff. I didn't realize by that they meant, hey, we're going to go back to season 1 of Discovery. Good lord. I can't. I can't. This is so sad. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, you've got Expanse. You've got some other really, really interesting, really fascinating series coming up. And I've got to say, good. Like, congratulations. I really like this. I like where this is going. They've got some good stuff. And there's some other new shows that are kind of in the works. And yeah, stuff's coming. Stuff's coming out pretty good. It's got some good stuff. So there is space in Hollywood and for TVs and film to employ these really good writers. There are smaller, indie studios that are writing new stuff. The community answer to the Mass Effect thing was pretty hilarious. Community as in like the mass community, with the creation of a certain game that starts with S. Yeah, it's interesting to watch this stuff take place. It's interesting to note and see where things are going, and it's interesting to see that the big mega corporation studios have no answer to basically any of this stuff.
Yeah, AAA is the AAA, Triple B, as we sometimes call them. It's just a massive disappointment, and it's too bad they own like all the best stuff. It sucks. I'd love to see some indie studios take a crack at a Mass Effect game or a Star Wars game and that kind of thing. As Trauma Sentry says in the live chat, like they say, you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. The BioWare that we knew is gone. Time to move on.
Yeah. Well, and I do want to point this out. So the game that I alluded to just recently has 100 players on average playing, throughout the day on that game. You have to remember that most people hide that game from their Steam charts because it's not a family-friendly game.
I would not consider that an answer to Mass Effect, though. Not mass appeal. I mean, I know it's got a good.
No, yes, but I just want to point this out. So let's assume that 50% of people don't hide that game, although I'm pretty sure it's much higher. I think it's probably closer to 90%. But at any rate, let's just say 50% hide that game. So that means there's about 200 people playing the game right now. Do you know how many people are playing Mass Effect right now? It's more than that. But it's only 10 times more than that. So there's 2,000 people playing Mass Effect right now. The Legendary Edition on Steam. Again, not counting other things, locations, and people who hide it, that kind of stuff. So we can kind of take those numbers and we can kind of do an estimate that $1 billion company is creating a product that is 10 times more popular than a product that was created by less than 20 people by a company that's not even worth, I mean, they're probably worth north of 100,000 now, but they were definitely not worth more than $1 million when they started this project. So a bunch of people in a back room, in a garage or a basement somewhere are making a product that is 1/10 as popular as the main product. Gee, wow. Like, you want to know the answer? You want to know where this is going? That's where it's going. That's where it's going. And again, not adult games, but it's going in a direction where indie companies are able to do more, create more, and be better than multi-billion-dollar companies.
Yeah.
That have tens of thousands of people involved in it, and they can't even do a basic thing.
And the tech is catching up to the point where, I mean, you just look at what what Warhorse, is that what the studio's called, did with Kingdom Come Deliverance a few years ago. They they created a game that was technically beyond the hardware available to the general gaming public at the time. They actually had settings in the game where they put up a warning that said, these are like experimental and don't, for like future machines. I remember seeing that. And, so he's like, if this doesn't work, because they like future proofed their graphics in that game. Anyway, they did some very impressive stuff with a relatively small team of people. And, just indie games have been that's where I've been getting my entertainment lately. Just playing really good indie games because AAA has been such a disappointment. But I do want a good Mass Effect game. I do want good Star Wars games. I want all those things as a gamer. But it's they're owned by all the best IPs are owned by these garbage companies or companies that they just don't know what to do with them. They're poorly managed and all that. So then the game comes out and Vampire Survivors, another good example. I mean, that one is kind of a lightning in a bottle situation, I think, but it is like it's crazy popular.
One dude.
Yeah, one dude creates a game with like
I wouldn't say it's lightning in a bottle.
Well, we've had a number. No. We've had a lot of games like Kenshi is another. I mean, Kenshi is comparable to that. Kenshi was made by one dude, and it's been tearing up the charts. He's working on the second game, and again, it's tearing up the charts. It's more and more of these people, and again, it's like, I mean, it happens every like
It's not lightning in a bottle because that's kind of like, oh, it's kind of like a once in a lifetime thing. You're sure maybe per individual, like you could, well, I mean, even then it wouldn't be that common. But I mean, it's been common in the sense that every couple of years or every couple of months, there's a new hot thing that's made by a small team. You know,
Oh,
from
sure there
Among
is.
Us
Sure there
to,
is.
you know,
I'm
other
just
stuff.
saying, like, it's for the that's not the norm. Like for each one that gets,
Obviously,
you know,
yeah.
But by the way, my point with graphics, as Jim Muse is talking about it in the in there, my point was that you no longer need to be a big AAA studio to have amazing graphics. You just look at all of the stuff that's being done with Unreal 5 or what you can do with that right now, and that's
amazing.
Yeah, and that's available for anybody to use. You know, so one person can sit down and make a game in that, and it's not going to be, you know, as far as graphics and stuff, it'll be comparable to, you know, what a AAA studio can bring. So really, you can't just compete on that on that front anymore, because that is where AAA, I would say, had an edge. They could bring these massive, amazing looking worlds that were like boring to play in. But I feel like that edge is getting dulled because the technology is becoming just a lot more accessible to a lot more people. Okay, we got to talk about Starfield and then we'll get the hell out of here. But Starfield, so as we've been talking about, it's the upcoming space epic from Bethesda Studios, which we will be. So there's a Bethesda Xbox showcase happening in June. Moon, could you check on the exact date of that? So we'll get that out there. But so we're expecting to see a lot there. We're hoping to see a lot there. Are we expecting to see a lot there, Saib, or just hoping to see a lot from Bethesda at the showcase in June?
Okay, yeah. So we talked about this on the Maximum News show, which I know because you were busy, you didn't get a chance to watch. But out of all of the studios that Microsoft has, which are a lot, how many of them are going to be bringing something to that showcase? And so you've got all of the Bethesda studios, all the studios that they have. It's quite a large list. I could go through the list and cover what each of them could be potentially, might be bringing. But it's an easier and quicker answer to this is all of them.
So we're expecting a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
and
of
the
them
showcase
are
is on
bringing
Sunday,
something.
June 12th.
And that could be anything from like a 15 to 30 second trailer to a large deep dive into a game. So
to
sorry,
an update on what they've been doing, to a trailer. They're not afraid of showing trailers 2-3 years in advance, but they're also expected to bring the largest number of releases within the next like 6 to 8 months, is what we're hearing. So they're going to have a number of games. We're hearing so some of the rumor mills are going nuts. One rumor I've confirmed is that there's a major game from a big IP that is going to be coming out, that is going to be launching within a, air quotes, immediate time frame from the show.
I love it when they do that.
I love it
good.
when they do that too.
Then,
and I love it that I have no idea what that is or how that's going to work or what that is. And I love that it's so broad. But that is the news that I've been hearing under the table. And then the news that other streamers are kind of like parodying from other sources that I'm sure are not the sources that I have. So that's what we've been hearing a lot. What does that mean? I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know if that's coming to exclusively to Xbox, or that's coming to PC and Xbox. I don't know if that's immediate, as in like, end of summer, or if that means in 3 hours after the show closes.
3 years after the show closes.
Oh, I'm sure.
Well, I don't think that would be considered an immediate time frame.
Yeah. So I'm hearing that there's going to be a lot of good stuff. And again, I do not encourage anybody to go and pre-order anything or to take that at face value, because we have been burned so much before, and it's really is quite crazy to think that that's going to be a thing. And we also don't know how much of that lineup is going to be split up between that show and the Jeff Keighley show a couple days earlier. Which, by the way, I watched. So I watched like Bill come up, and he was like, "Hey guys, the 12th, we're gonna have the biggest show for you of the summer, definitely of that week. You know, like we've got this huge thing coming. Can't wait to show you." And everybody was clapping and cheering. And then Jeff Keighley ran up on stage and said, "Oh, by the way, everybody, I've got a great show, and it's coming out on the 9th." And Phil and Todd just looked at each other, and they looked at him, and they went, "That mother." Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Huh. I missed that somehow. Anyway, we will be live co-streaming the Bethesda Xbox Showcase on, you said it was June 12th?
June 12th, and they said 10 a.m. PT.
Yeah.
10 a.m. Pacific. All right, so that's 1 p.m. Eastern, and then we'll figure out what that is in European time, etc., etc. Stay tuned for updates on the Triple S League Discord server and the Gilded server. We'll have all the info there. We'll live stream that one and live commentate on it, so we hope you join us for that. That'll be on the main Triple S League channel. And then we do have, again, the Jeff Keighley show that's on Thursday the 9th. As far as, I'm not sure if we'll co-stream that one. We'll let you know as we get closer to the day.
Probably. We're gonna try to. That's
I like Jim Hughes' comment in the chat. He says, "So it's the Key 3 show now?"
Yeah, basically, because as we talked about a few weeks ago, E3 is dead, gone. There's no E3, but there's E3 like showcases are still happening that various companies are putting on. Anyway, so we have also got some concept art released for Starfield, which we thought we'd discuss a little bit. Can I put these up in the video version, Saib? Is that safe?
Which?
The concept art.
Oh yeah.
Because they weren't leaked. I'm gonna dump them for the live listeners. I'm dumping them in the live chat right now. Or it's going to crash. Oh no, there it is. Okay, there. So 6 images there. And I'll bring them up on the screen. And what's interesting about this is we get to see some interiors. And they may not be, for those of you in the live chat, they may not show up in the same order as I am discussing them, unfortunately. But hopefully, you can follow along there. So it's interesting to see. Again, this is concept art. It's not, any picture of the actual game, but it's interesting to see the kind of world that they are putting together here. And so we have this one that looks like the interior of a ship with an airlock or a door at the end of a hallway. Very detailed environment, that kind of a thing. This one, some kind of mechanist shop. The guy.
The first couple have been out for a long time.
Okay.
The way that you posted them, only the last 2 are relatively new.
The last 2? Okay, well, so the second last one on the Discord is the one I was talking about first.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I didn't know which one you were on.
Yeah.
So yes, this is the new one.
I thought all of the interiors were new, but I could be wrong. My favorite is actually this one that looks like it's kind of rustic. It looks like, it's got a bed. It kind of looks like a future-y cabin, but it's got, got a kind of a concrete wall,
we
that
Ash really likes this one. He especially liked this one when he saw it the first time.
I don't remember it. How loopy
looks like
was
a cave
I?
of solitude.
I'm positive we talked about this before when it first came out. You were like, "Wow, this is really rustic. It's so cool looking." And I'm like, "Yeah, I agree. I agree again."
I don't remember this at all. Okay. All right. We'll talk about the two new ones.
I'm hoping that wasn't with Max, and I'm just confusing you.
It might be.
But no,
it might have been. But
a lot of
let's talk about the two new ones.
Great. This stuff looks great because what it shows is that they have heart when they're making this stuff. And if they can make this stuff close to what we're seeing, we're going to have a really interesting game. The story might be garbage, but the story was garbage. I mean, when you really think about it, the Skyrim story was kind of garbage. Like, I mean, it wasn't garbage. It was like, okay, so you again, oh dear, I should probably mention this spoiler for another 15-plus-year-old game. It's garbage in the sense that it's like, I'm going to become the chosen one and fight the dragon and save the world. It's like, oh, that's not the first time I've heard that pitch.
Oh, yeah.
It's certainly not the first time I've heard it this week.
The chosen one trope, definitely a I hope in Starfield that we play more as your average.
But nobody plays Skyrim today to beat the Elder Dragon again, right? Nobody's doing that. They're playing it for like just the explorativeness. Most of them are playing it for those amazing mods on Nexus and that other place that we can't talk about. I mean, those are just absolutely fantastic, and I really got to say, it really makes me appreciate some of the more refined things in Skyrim, like the Thomas the Tank mods. I mean, they're wonderful. You thought I was talking about something else, didn't you?
I didn't know where you were going, but that's
pretty. Get your heads out of the gutter.
I don't.
Clearly, I was talking about Thomas the Tank Train. It's great. It's hilarious.
I never try and predict where you're going with anything because you're just all over the place, man. But I do hope, because you're right. Going back to play Skyrim now, it's not because of the epic story or the epic central story, but it's to experience those stories within the world and kind of create your own story within the world. And I hope that's what we get in Starfield.
And there's stuff that always surprises me, like legitimately. I was perusing YouTube today and I came across a video in which all the guy did was dressed up in a Thalmor outfit and tried to sneak up to a Thalmor who this high up NPC. And I didn't realize that there were different reactions based off of the different races that you could be. Because you're trying to be a Thalmor and you're clearly not a Thalmor. You're clearly not a high elf, but they have different reactions for people who have who look like sort of like that. I didn't know that was a thing. Because I never tried to pretend to be a Thalmor because I always play the same race. I always play the same character. And I never knew that you could try and pass off as something you weren't in an attempt to subvert the dude's expectations. That's wild. That's so cool. And again, I didn't know that. I mean, obviously lots of people have known this for a very long time, but I personally didn't know that about Skyrim. And so it's things like that. Again, if they could just make a competent version of that in space with some good story and moderately to okay-ish good story, they'll have a game that will play for a very long time. And again, don't pre-order it. They don't deserve it. Pre-order it a day before you pick it up.
If you're certain you're going to buy it, buy it the day before so you can pre-install it and then you don't have to wait. But don't order it before that. Don't do anything like that. All right, we're done.
Yay!
So we'll.
Sorry for being late. I don't know. Again, I'm going to re-emphasize this. It snowed today.
It's okay. The people listening tomorrow when this when it actually goes live on YouTube and on the podcast platforms, they're not going to notice that we were late. Anyway, thanks for listening to the Augmented Reality Podcast. Please slam that like button, leave comments down below, and subscribe to the channel. Check out our main channel, the Triple S League. Check out our Patreon if you would like some perks and stuff. We got, by the way, for those of you who don't like Patreon, we've got more support options coming. Those will hopefully be coming very soon. We know things are tight for lots of people right now. And, so we totally understand that. We definitely don't expect financial support from anybody. We just hope you get something out of this and share it around and like and comment and all that. We appreciate all that stuff. But for those of you who do want to, just support financially where you can, we do appreciate that as well. So thank you so much to our Patreon supporters and channel members and supporters directly in our community servers. You've seen their names appearing on the top of the screen throughout the podcast. We really appreciate that. And I guess that's all, actually. So, merch store. Check out all the links down in the description below. We'll be back here next week at the same time for the Augmented Reality Podcast with more topics. Thanks so much for listening. We will talk to you again soon.